obviously the training camp roster's out. Alexi Kolosov is not on there.
Oh, you start right with him, huh?
You know, what's the status? What have you talked about with him? And is there a chance he could still come over even though he's not on the initial camp roster?
Yeah, I guess we can still hope that he decides to show up at some point if he wants to play hockey. You know, we hope that he changes his mind and decides to come, but it's not looking like it at this point. You know, it is what it is. We have to move on. You know, we hope that he would want to compete for a job. You know, when you look at the way we're built right now, there's an opportunity there for him to, you know, the way we saw it is probably start in the American League. And, you know, most teams around the league use their third goalie or fourth goalie. You know, so he'd be in a competition with the guys that we have to play some games this year. So, now, I think on his end, it's more about he wants to be guaranteed a spot in the NHL. If not, he prefers to stay over there, and that's not the way we see it. We agreed last year to loan him back for 1 year because he wanted to stay home. But at some point, you sign a contract, and we want him here. We want him to start integrating himself, you know, into the game, the way it's played here in North America, with the smaller ice and learning the language and all of that. And I guess he doesn't see it that way at the moment.
Is there anything the organization would have done differently, Danny, during that whole thing?
What's that?
Is there anything the organization would have done differently looking back on it?
I mean, you know, if we could have had a player that he would have felt comfortable with speaking the language in Lehigh Valley, maybe, but it's tough to do right when you're at the end of the season. He came in, we thought, okay, that's going to give him the chance to see what it's like. No promises were made. He was just coming to see it, and you know, with all the rumors that are out there, I have to say something about that because, you know, some of our players and coaches and development guys went above and beyond to try to help him integrate with the team. You know, I feel bad for some of the leaders, Garrett Wilson especially, Louis Belpedio, and I could go on and on. Like, these guys went out of their way to try to help him fit in. They would ask him to go to dinner and stuff like that. And I talked to some of the guys, and they all said that he was fine. He was great around the rink. They liked him as a person. So I just want to make that clear out there with all the rumors. There didn't seem to be any issues, and I believe in the leadership of those guys. Same thing with our coaches. I mean, you guys saw you have Jason Smith and Ian LaPerriere on the coaching staff, two of the greatest leaders and would do anything for their teammates on the coaching staff. So, you know, when you hear things like that, you have to take it with a grain of salt a little bit. He had some really good people to work with around him. I get it. He might be homesick, but that's the life of a professional hockey player. You got to adapt, and if you want to play hockey, that's just how it is.
Danny, I'm sure that if he wants to play hockey again, he has to come to the Flyers. Obviously, with the KHL, I mean, is there legal ramifications here if he does sign with someone else? Like, how do you handle?
All we know is he's under contract with us, and you know, the way we see it, if he wants to play hockey, he has to respect his contract. For us, yeah, we have no interest in loaning him back. We want him to develop here and. You know, and there's a great opportunity in front for our goalies right now. We have young goalies in net. We have Cal Peterson that's fighting for a spot as well. So we just thought it would be a great opportunity for him at this time, and it's too bad that, you know, he's not willing to come over.
So there's no tolling of the contract.
What's that?
There's no tolling of the contract.
We're far from that. At this point, we haven't talked about that. I don't know, you know, and I don't want to say we're going to do it or not do it. I don't know. We haven't talked about that yet. That's not till, you know, way down the road when it's time to look at that. But we still hope that he changes his mind and decides to come.
Danny, I'm sure you've been in communication with his camp, and when a guy is loaned back 1 year and then apparently would like to be loaned back another year, there's probably thoughts on your side of, does he actually want to be an NHL player at some point? Has he communicated, or his camp communicated, that he does want to come over at some point? And is there a level of trust there that, or do you
Well,
guys, are you guys wondering if he ever wants to come over at all?
Yeah, it's a good question, and yeah, we do wonder at this point because he's, you know, he doesn't show that he wants to come. That was the understanding last year when we signed the contract. He asked us to loan him back for 1 year, so he can keep developing one more year, and then he would come over. And then now we're here now, and he's still saying the same thing. So, you know, that's part of the reason it's time for him to you know, step up and respect the contract that he's signed.
Is his stance that he does at some point want to come over? He just doesn't want to come over this year?
Well, we don't know anymore.
Danny, I guess changing gears to the Ryan Johansson situation, do you know if that is maybe close to being resolved, or is this something that's really lingering?
It's still, we haven't heard from their camp. I think the ball is in their camp at this point, and there's nothing new to report.
But with the Ryan Johansson situation, have you guys officially terminated the deal, or are you guys waiting?
Yeah, the contract is terminated. It was, you know, I guess it's in their hands now, and they have to decide if they decide to file a grievance or not. But yes, as far as I understand it, the contract is terminated at this point.
Was that terminated like the day after he was on waivers, or did you guys wait on?
Correct. Yeah.
You had a couple of guys who had off-season surgeries, Drysdale, Ristolainen. Is the main group everybody healthy? Everybody's cleared, ready to go, full out?
As of now, you know how this goes. You know, and you always see it early in training camp. There's a lot of guys that get banged up when the intensity rises. You know, you guys know Torts' camp is not an easy one, but I believe it makes him stronger down the road. But as of right now, yes, our guys look strong. They look healthy. The few guys that are banged up actually are some of the rookies, you know, like Southern and Barkey, and Tuamala now. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's looking good. You know, I think other than maybe Ellis, as you know, we don't expect back. I think everybody's healthy.
You spoke a little bit about at the end of the year about how, regarding the power play, you were going to maybe utilize other people in the organization. I don't remember if it was you or Torts that said that, but have you guys maybe taken a deep dive into what's going wrong with the power play over the last couple of years, and how much can a healthy Jamie Drysdale and Matvei Michkov now maybe spark that?
Well, we hope. I mean, the two players you mentioned are two high-end skilled player, but they're still young. So, you know, it's going to be a work in progress. I know we've had some meetings. I've been part of some of the meetings. Torts and Rocky have had other meetings as well with guys like Danny Heatley and John Leclerc, Patrick Sharp, etc. So I know it's definitely been an area that they're putting an emphasis on going into the season. But you know, it's still a work in progress. It's going to be baby steps to get it better.
With Matvei, now you've had a chance to see him sort of in person in these informal skates with the pro guys at the rookie camp. Where do you see him as far as the best fit between Couturier or Frost or somebody else in the middle? Have you started? I mean, obviously Torts is going to have the ultimate decision, but have you in your mind, or you know, as a group, started having discussions where his best fit would be?
That's always a tough question because you know, you can't force chemistry between players. It just comes, and you know, first of all, Torts will decide what he sees best, or what he sees the best fit will be for the team. Now we'll discuss. We'll have, you know, exchanges about that and what we all think. But at the end of the day, Torts makes the decision, and you know, he moves his lines around quite a bit. So I think you're going to see a lot of different combinations there for Matvei until he figures out, you know, what's the best fit and where the best chemistry feels. Sometimes it's unexpected. You know, but it's also the best feeling in the world when you find, you know, that chemistry with someone. I remember myself, like the chemistry with Ville Leno and Scotty Hartnell. When you put it together, you're like, yeah, that's an ugly line. You know, and then we got on the ice and we just knew where we were, where each other was going to be. Like I said, it's the best feeling in the world. So I hope at some point, you know, that comes for Matvei.
What have you seen?
What part of this game are you most curious about on the NHL level? What it looks like in year one?
I can't wait to see how he's going to create offense. I think his brain is pretty special, and he's going to adapt, but it might not be instant. He might need time to adapt to it. What I've been really impressed is how hard he plays in traffic. For I guess he's a little shorter, but he's stocky, he's strong. You looked at the two rookie games, how physical he was, how strong he was on the puck, and at holding on to pucks and extending plays. So that's an area that I'm excited to watch. It's not going to be as easy in the NHL with the big, strong defensemen that have been around for years. But he's going to adapt, and he's going to figure out where he can be most successful and kind of take advantage of the opposition. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Dan, how do you temper maybe his expectations and the team's expectations going into this year?
Well, we have our own expectation. We expect to have a team that's going to compete. Hopefully, players individually get a little better than they were last year. I don't have a lot of expectation for Matvey. What I hope is for him to figure out how he can take the first step and get better as a player as the season goes on. Because I'm realistic. It's going to be a tough season for him. This is the best league in the world. It's a big step. It's not going to be easy. So my expectations are actually pretty low. I'm excited to watch him play, but he's going to have to go through a lot before he's probably the player that he expects to be.
You've had conversations with him off the the on the ice stuff is one thing. The off the ice stuff, learning new language, learning new culture, learning all that stuff. Like I saw him in Washington versus when you guys signed him in July, and his English has jumped exponentially. When you see all the other things that go into playing in North America, how have you seen him progress in that way, all the off-ice stuff?
Well, I think his level of comfort since he got here has expanded tremendously. He's a little bit more comfortable. He's very outgoing. He has a personality. He wants to talk to people. He wants to have relationships with people. He's great off the ice, and then he gets on the ice and he's got that really serious attitude. He wants to be the best every single shift. You guys have probably picked up on some of the stuff that he does out there. He's very, very competitive. That's the one thing we've learned. So for us, that's really good to see. That's exciting to see.
Dan, going back to the Kolosov situation for a second, this is the second time really in a calendar year where you guys have had a pretty public disagreement with a prospect. Is there any self-reflection on your part as to whether you guys are doing something wrong in terms of keeping prospects happy?
Yeah, we're always looking at ourselves and see how we can do better. But don't forget, we're talking about two guys from the outside. When I look at the culture that we're building here on the inside, the players that are on the inside, they want to be here. They realize how fortunate we are as a Flyer organization. I include myself in that. I'm fortunate to be working for this organization. They give you everything you want and everything to succeed. So I'm more worried about the people on the inside than the people on the outside. And once usually they come in, they realize how good we have it. So I think it's a great missed opportunity for him.
Is there maybe, obviously these are two guys that were drafted a few years ago. Could there be more research done pre-draft to identify these potential issues?
Yeah, that's always something, that you try to get to know the players better. You do some background search, but it's not easy. And sometimes you think one character can be a strength rather than a flaw, and now same thing. I mean, there's players. Look at Matvey Mishkov. Like people were saying, that he was a bad teammate, and so far from what we've seen a great communicator off the ice, even though he doesn't speak the language fully, and an ultra competitive player on the ice, which makes for what you want when you're looking for a hockey player. So it's really tough to do, but believe me, our guys put in the work, they try to dig in, and they try to find out as much as they can on every prospect. And sometimes you miss some of those character that I wouldn't call them flaws, but character that you're not looking for. Try not to bring into the culture that you're trying to build.
You mentioned that you're excited for Matt Bay to play under Torts. Obviously his history is what it is. Sometimes that he's particularly tough on younger players and veteran players alike. And you just mentioned again Matt Bay's competitiveness. How much as a manager do you have to sort of monitor that relationship to make sure it stays?
Look, we're constantly talking. Now, at the end of the day, Torts is the coach, and he's going to manage him. Torts' goal is to make Matvey the best player he can be. So I have no doubt that there's going to be some fireworks here and there, just like he has with almost every single player. But he's going to teach him to be a pro. He's going to teach him to be the best player he can be. So that's what I'm excited about. I really feel for Matvey, this is the best possible scenario to come in early, have the chance at such an early age in his development to be working with a coach like John Tortorella.
In that vein, I talked to Riley Armstrong over the summer, and he said he showed you clips of Matvey back-checking hard, Matvey one-knee blocking shots. When you see that, does that give you at least a little bit of relief that he's coachable, number one,
yeah.
He's not just an all-out offense guy, and number two, maybe there won't be so many fireworks?
Yeah, absolutely. But, the fireworks are with everyone. He tries to get the most out of every player, and that's going to happen. We know that. But, yeah, Matvey, and he showed in the rookie games, some turnovers, and he back-checked hard. And, he needs some direction a little bit in some areas, but it's not from a lack of effort, and that's really exciting to see.
You guys have talked a lot about development at the NHL level and seem pretty optimistic about certain guys like Cam York. Who were some of the players this year that you hope take those kind of steps that York did?
Well, I could say that for every player, but there's no doubt that Jamie Drysdale is a big one. Being healthy, we're excited to see him. Maybe a guy like Bobby Brink had an up and down season, but we didn't have him pegged in to make the team last year, and he showed up. He had a great training camp, provided some sparks here and there throughout the season, so maybe he can, expand on that. But, you could go down the list and want that from every single player. Another one for me would be Noah Cates. He had an excellent rookie season. Last year was a little tougher for him. I expect him to bounce back and have another season. But again, the exciting part is, we're a young group, still developing, still trying to figure out how far we can push it. So that's exciting to me.
Last year,
A few more questions?
Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost are two guys that had a bit of an up and down year. Good starts maybe, then dipped a little bit. What are you hoping to see from them this year going forward?
Well, Joel's going to have a big role. With adding Matvey now, you look at our wingers. It gives you three solid sets of wingers that you can work with so many different combinations. So that's the exciting part, and Joel's going to be part of it. We forget sometimes that Joel is still 23, 24 years old. He's been around so long, but he's taken on a bigger, more of a leadership role. It probably started last year, and we expect him to expand on that. He looks a little bigger and stronger. He had the neck surgery a couple of years ago that kind of hampered his workout in the summertime. He's been playing catch up since. So this summer, for him having a chance to push that, I expect bigger things from him. Looking at Morgan, I believe last year arriving late at camp, like on the first day of camp with the contract situation, probably didn't help. Started behind the 8 ball, behind everybody else, and he played catch up the first probably month of the season, and then he was really good. He had some dips here and there, but overall it was a pretty good season for Morgan, and that's another guy that we expect to take another step. He's in the middle part there, you look at the wingers that he's going to have the chance to work with throughout the season. Our centermen should be pretty excited.
And if you look at the NHL roster, and I guess aside from Mate, who's you said is going to make the team, there aren't a lot of spots obviously available for young guys to
Yeah.
break the door down. That said, you mentioned Bobby Brink, a guy who last year didn't come into camp maybe with the expectation that he was going to make the team, and then
Yeah.
he breaks the door down. Who are the guys going into this camp, the young guys, the non-established NHL players who
Yeah.
have a chance?
Yeah, but well, first of all, when you look at last year, I think going into the season, we had Lashinsky and Allison kind of pegged in on those last few spots, and Forster and Brink kind of on the outside. But those two young guys, played so well. We made room for them. Going into this year, and that's going to be the key. Those players, including Tyson and Bobby, they have to know that nothing's a lock, and they still have to push ahead and not take anything for granted. Some of the players that are going to be pushing for spots are probably a guy like Lixell. Rodrigo Abols is another one. Anthony Richard could surprise. There's also Eklund, who's a big left winger. So there's definitely some guys that are going to be pushing for spots, and nobody can be too comfortable.
Your goaltending situation looks a little more stable this year. How much do you think that will affect the temperament moving forward as opposed to last year?
I hope it helps. Last year there's obviously a lot of questions. We didn't know what was going to happen with Carter. There's a 3 goalie system there for a while. That wasn't easy. We're not planning on doing that this year. But hopefully, Urson takes the reign. We see him as the number one, and those Fedotov hopefully can be pushing him for starts the same way that Urson did it to Carter last year. Urson didn't steal the starts that he was getting. He earned them along the way. So that's a big part of why we were where we were, and very competitive last year. Was goaltending was strong until we lost Carter, unfortunately. And don't forget, Cal Peterson is still there pushing. He wants to get back in the NHL full time. So he's going to get some looks as well.
Kind of piggybacking off Charlie's question, you're going to go in, if everybody's healthy, with 7D, and you've got guys like Andrea Ginning and Bond who are pushing, maybe a little early in the conversation, but could you consider taking 8D?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's open. We haven't made a decision if it's going to be a forward, an extra forward, or an extra D. We'll see who plays well, who earns it. But the defensemen that you mentioned will get a look. Ronnie Adder, Ginning, Grans, Andre, maybe Bunk. Like those guys will all have also all have a look.
With Bonk, I know you've said the plan is for him to go back to London. But if he kind of impresses and steps up, would you alter that and have a 19-year-old defenseman?
I don't want to say no, because we'll see how it is. I've read some of the comments on Luchenko. These guys are here. They have the mindset that they want to make the team, and I don't want to take that away from them before camp starts. It's their play is going to speak on the ice, and we'll see. But when you talk about guys like Luchenko and Bunk, it's more than just are they ready, but what about the future too? So you got to consider what's best for their development, what's best for 3, 5, 7 years down the road when you talk about guys that are 18 or 19 years old.